Hello and welcome to America's Lost Recipes, where every dish tells a story. Whether this is your first visit or you are returning for more nostalgia, you are in the right place. Today we uncover 10 forgotten Christmas soups nobody makes anymore, recipes that once warmed kitchens and hearts across America. Each soup carries a hidden history, and by the end of this video, you will understand why these lost traditions deserve to be savored once again. Imagine a snowstorm trapping an entire farmhouse in ice and silence. Outside, the wind rages across barren fields, carrying the bitter chill of winter, but inside, a pot of creamy potato chowder simmers slowly on the stove, filling the air with a comforting warmth and inviting aroma. This simple dish was the backbone of many American homes during the 1930s, a time when families faced hardship and uncertainty, yet still found solace in shared meals. The snowbound potato chowder first appeared in regional farm cookbooks during the Great Depression, a period when resourcefulness was essential. Families relied on humble, affordable ingredients, potatoes, milk, onions, and a pinch of salt and pepper to create a soup that was nourishing, filling, and satisfying. Some households added small amounts of bacon, ham, or herbs, transforming a modest bowl of chowder into a centerpiece worthy of holiday gatherings or weekend dinners. Beyond sustenance, this soup became a symbol of resilience and care. On long winter nights, mothers would stir patiently by the wood stove while children watched with eager anticipation, waiting for the moment they could enjoy the steaming, velvety soup together. Across farm towns, this recipe spread quickly because it was adaptable, economical, and deeply comforting. Every spoonful carried more than flavor, it carried memories, laughter, and the quiet intimacy of family life. For many, it recalled the joy of simple Christmas celebrations, of coming together despite hardships, and the warmth of home on a snowy night. Today, the snowbound potato chowder has nearly vanished from modern holiday tables, forgotten amid faster, flashier recipes. Recreating it is not simply cooking, it is stepping back into a time when meals were crafted with love, patience, and heart. This is the magic of rediscovering America's lost recipes. In the earliest American colonies, Christmas looked very different from the holiday we know today, and one of the most surprising traditions was a warm, tangy cranberry soup served before the main feast. This dish began as a simple blend of cranberries, water, and honey, simmered slowly until the berries burst and released their deep red color. For English settlers, cranberries were one of the first truly American ingredients they encountered, and transforming them into soup became a way to blend Old World customs with New World flavors. Families prepared it during December because cranberries stored well through winter, making them reliable when most fresh ingredients were scarce. The soup offered a bright, festive aroma that stood out against the cold, quiet landscape of colonial towns, creating a sense of celebration even in the harshest weather. As the years passed, households began adding cloves, cinnamon, or a bit of dried citrus to deepen the flavor, turning the soup into a warm reminder of home and heritage. Children often remembered the excitement of seeing the pot bubble over the hearth, filling the room with the smell of sweetened berries and spice. Though it was beloved for generations, the colonial cranberry soup eventually disappeared as American holiday meals became richer and more complex. Today, very few people even know it existed, yet it once carried the spirit of early Christmas gatherings, when meals were built on gratitude, simplicity, and resourceful cooking. Recreating it now offers more than nostalgia, it reconnects us with the earliest families who shaped American food traditions through creativity and resilience. As we explore these forgotten Christmas soups, each recipe reveals a small but meaningful piece of the nation's culinary past, waiting to be rediscovered and appreciated once more. The lost chestnut puree loved in Victorian America. In Victorian America, chestnuts were as common during Christmas as ornaments on the tree, and one of the most cherished seasonal dishes was a smooth, velvety chestnut puree served as a warm soup before holiday dinners. Families prized chestnuts because they were inexpensive, hearty, and plentiful throughout December, often gathered in woven baskets after they fell from towering trees along rural pathways. This puree began with roasted chestnuts that were peeled carefully and simmered with milk or broth until they softened into a creamy base. The aroma was rich and earthy, filling kitchens with a warmth that signaled the arrival of the festive season. Cooks often added nutmeg, a hint of vanilla, or a small amount of sugar to create a delicate balance between savory and sweet, a flavor combination that felt refined yet comforting. For many households, preparing chestnut puree was a tradition that brought everyone together. Children helped crack the shells by the fireplace, while adults stirred the pot and shared stories about previous Christmases. This simple act of cooking created a sense of togetherness that defined the holiday spirit. Over time, however, the dish began to fade. A blight in the early 20th century devastated America's chestnut trees, making the ingredients scarce and expensive. As canned soups and quicker recipes took over modern kitchens, the beloved chestnut puree slowly disappeared from holiday menus. Yet the memories remained vivid for those who experienced it, recalling a time when flavor was shaped by patience, seasonal ingredients, and the joy of gathering close on cold winter nights. Bringing this puree back is more than recreating an old recipe. It is an opportunity to reconnect with a lost chapter of American culinary history, one filled with warmth, resourcefulness, and the timeless comfort of a shared holiday meal. The Depression-era onion broth families sipped on cold nights. During the darkest years of the Great Depression, Christmas looked different for many American families, and one of the most common dishes to appear on winter tables was a simple onion broth that offered warmth when resources were scarce. This broth began with a few sliced onions slowly cooked until they softened and released their natural sweetness, a process that filled small kitchens with a comforting aroma that felt far richer than the ingredients themselves. Water, a bit of salt, and sometimes a splash of milk or leftover drippings from a previous meal were added to stretch the flavor as far as possible. Despite its simplicity, this soup carried a sense of dignity and care. Families gathered around the table with gratitude because even a humble bowl of onion broth meant they had something warm to hold onto during the coldest nights of the year. In many rural towns, neighbors shared onions from their root cellars, turning the broth into a symbol of community resilience. The sound of the pot simmering became a familiar part of winter evenings, and children often recalled how the steam would fog the windows while stories were exchanged beside the stove. Though the broth was not extravagant, it held emotional weight because it reminded families that togetherness mattered more than abundance. As the nation recovered and access to richer ingredients grew, the Depression-era onion broth faded quietly from Christmas traditions. Modern holiday tables rarely feature it, yet it stands as a reminder of a time when creativity and resourcefulness shaped the flavor of everyday life. Recreating this broth today reconnects us with an era defined by endurance, gratitude, and the belief that even the simplest meal could offer comfort. It preserves a piece of American history that deserves to be remembered and honored during the holiday season. The gingerbread spiced carrot soup from Old New England kitchens. In Old New England kitchens, long before modern holiday desserts took center stage, families prepared a warm gingerbread spiced carrot soup that captured the spirit of Christmas with its comforting aroma and gentle sweetness. This dish began with simple winter ingredients: carrots pulled from cool cellars, a bit of butter, and fresh milk simmered slowly until the vegetables softened into a smooth, vibrant base. What made this soup unforgettable was the blend of spices inspired by early American gingerbread. Cooks added cinnamon, ginger, and a small touch of molasses, creating a flavor that felt both familiar and festive. As the pot simmered over a wood-burning stove, the air filled with notes of spice that reminded families of holiday baking, even before the first tin of cookies was made. Children often waited nearby, drawn by the warm scent drifting through the house as snow piled against the windows. This soup brought comfort during long winters when fresh produce was limited and families relied on seasonal crops stored from the fall harvest. It provided nourishment, color, and a sense of celebration at a time when Christmas meals were shaped by simplicity rather than abundance. Over time, however, the gingerbread spiced carrot soup faded from tradition. New England households embraced richer appetizers, canned soups, and quicker dishes, leaving behind recipes that required patience and slow cooking. Modern kitchens rarely recreate the dish, yet it once played an important role in early American holiday meals, offering warmth, sweetness, and a hint of nostalgia with every spoonful. Bringing this recipe back allows us to reconnect with a moment in history when holiday flavors were crafted from humble ingredients and shared with gratitude. It preserves the memory of families who shaped Christmas traditions with creativity, care, and the joy of gathering around the table during the coldest days. The holiday oyster stew that vanished after the 1950s. For generations, one of the most anticipated dishes of the Christmas season was a warm, silky oyster stew that appeared on winter tables across coastal towns and inland homes alike. This tradition stretched back to the 19th century, when oysters were inexpensive, abundant, and sold by street vendors in wooden barrels packed with ice. Families purchased them in December because cold weather kept the oysters fresh, making the stew a reliable holiday choice. The recipe was simple yet elegant: fresh oysters gently heated in milk or cream with butter, salt, and a touch of black pepper. As the mixture warmed, the oysters released a mild brininess that blended with the creamy base, creating a flavor that felt both festive and comforting. The aroma drifted through kitchens as families prepared for Christmas Eve, setting the tone for an evening centered on warmth and celebration. Children often remembered the excitement of seeing the pot simmer, knowing the holiday meal was about to begin. By the mid-20th century, however, oyster stew began to disappear. Rising prices, declining oyster beds, and the growing popularity of new holiday dishes made the tradition fade from American homes. Many families moved away from coastal regions, and the connection to fresh oysters weakened. Convenience foods replaced slow, stovetop recipes, and the Christmas oyster stew quietly slipped into history. Yet for those who experienced it, the memory remains vivid: a bowl of creamy warmth on a cold December night, shared at tables filled with laughter, candlelight, and the anticipation of the holiday ahead. Recreating this stew today offers more than nostalgia. It revives a chapter of American culinary history shaped by seasonality, craftsmanship, and the joy of gathering together. This forgotten dish deserves a place once again in the story of Christmas traditions. The forgotten ham bone soup that stretched Christmas leftovers. During the mid-20th century, many American families faced the challenge of making holiday meals last, and one of the most ingenious solutions was the ham bone soup, a dish that transformed leftover Christmas meat into a warm, nourishing meal. After the main holiday feast, the remaining ham bone, often with bits of meat still clinging to it, was simmered slowly with water, onions, carrots, and a handful of grains or beans. The resulting broth was rich, smoky, and comforting, filling kitchens with a scent that reminded families of the celebrations from the night before. This soup was more than a practical dish; it was a symbol of resourcefulness and care, reflecting a time when every morsel of food mattered. Children remembered gathering around the kitchen, drawn by the aroma, and savoring a bowl that tasted both familiar and special, a continuation of the holiday festivities in a simpler form. Across rural towns and urban neighborhoods alike, the ham bone soup became a tradition, teaching families the value of thrift, patience, and the ability to stretch resources without sacrificing flavor. Yet, as convenience foods and prepackaged meals became more popular in the 1950s and beyond, this beloved soup gradually vanished from American holiday tables. Modern cooks often overlook it, favoring fresh recipes over leftover transformations. However, recreating the forgotten ham bone soup reconnects us with a time when Christmas meals were designed to bring families together over warmth, flavor, and shared memories. Each simmering pot tells a story of ingenuity, frugality, and the quiet joy of turning what might have been discarded into a comforting, celebratory dish. Rediscovering it allows us to honor the traditions of the past while appreciating the timeless pleasure of a humble, hearty soup shared with loved ones. The cinnamon apple soup once served at winter church dinners. In small towns across America, particularly in the late 1800s and early 1900s, cinnamon apple soup was a cherished dish at winter church dinners and community gatherings. Made from apples harvested in the fall and stored through the cold months, this sweet, spiced soup offered warmth, nourishment, and a sense of celebration. The apples were peeled, sliced, and simmered with water, sugar, and a generous sprinkle of cinnamon, creating a fragrant, golden broth that filled kitchens and halls with the scent of the season. Some families added a splash of cream or a touch of nutmeg to deepen the flavor, transforming a simple fruit soup into a festive treat. It was a dish that symbolized the blending of practicality and joy. Apples were abundant and affordable, yet the soup elevated them into a comforting holiday tradition. Children often remembered the excitement of tasting it at community dinners, where bowls were ladled generously and stories were shared between bites. Beyond its flavor, cinnamon apple soup represented the values of sharing and togetherness. Each pot reflected the care and effort of families who relied on seasonal produce to create memorable meals that united neighbors and loved ones. Over time, however, this soup disappeared from holiday traditions, replaced by richer, fancier desserts and modern convenience recipes. Today, few people are familiar with it, yet its history speaks to a period when winter meals emphasized warmth, flavor, and community. Recreating cinnamon apple soup allows us to reconnect with these forgotten moments, to experience the simple pleasure of a spiced, sweet broth enjoyed in the glow of family and friends. It preserves a piece of American culinary heritage, reminding us that the most memorable flavors are often those born from care, patience, and seasonal abundance. The wild rice and mushroom soup from Minnesota's early settlers. In the cold northern winters of Minnesota, early settlers relied on ingredients they could store and forage, giving rise to a hearty wild rice and mushroom soup that became a holiday staple in many homes. Wild rice, native to the region, was combined with mushrooms, onions, and occasionally dried herbs to create a broth that was earthy, nutty, and deeply satisfying. Families often prepared this soup during Christmas because it utilized preserved or locally sourced ingredients, making it both practical and festive. The cooking process was slow and deliberate, allowing the flavors to meld while filling kitchens with a rich, comforting aroma. Children and grandchildren remembered gathering around the stove, watching the steam rise from the simmering pot while hearing stories of winters past and tales of settlers who first harvested wild rice from local lakes. The soup symbolized ingenuity and adaptation, demonstrating how communities shaped holiday meals from the resources available to them. Over time, however, the dish faded from American holiday tables. As convenience foods and imported ingredients became widespread in the 20th century, the use of wild rice and foraged mushrooms in festive soups declined sharply. Despite its disappearance, wild rice and mushroom soup represents a culinary tradition rooted in the resilience, resourcefulness, and creativity of early Minnesotan families. Recreating it today is more than cooking, it is stepping back into a time when meals reflected the landscape, seasonality, and the enduring warmth of home. Every spoonful evokes the chill of northern winters and the comfort of a kitchen alive with family, conversation, and shared effort. Rediscovering this soup allows modern cooks to experience a forgotten taste of American history, honoring the settlers who transformed simple ingredients into memorable holiday dishes and preserving the Christmas tomato bouillon from classic 1940s cookbooks. In the 1940s, during a period marked by wartime rationing and resourcefulness, the Christmas tomato bouillon emerged as a light, flavorful soup served at holiday tables across America. Unlike the rich, creamy soups of other eras, this bouillon relied on the natural sweetness and acidity of tomatoes, often enhanced with onions, celery, and a few carefully chosen herbs. It appeared in cookbooks of the time as a starter for Christmas dinners, offering a bright, festive flavor that was both economical and satisfying. Housewives and home cooks valued this soup because it required simple, readily available ingredients, many of which were grown in home gardens or preserved from the summer harvest. The preparation was straightforward yet thoughtful. Tomatoes were simmered gently, strained if needed, and seasoned to create a clear, aromatic broth that felt elegant despite its modest nature. Families gathered around the kitchen, enjoying the warmth and fragrance while anticipating the main holiday feast. For children, it was part of the excitement of Christmas meals, a dish that signaled the start of celebration and togetherness. Over time, however, the Christmas tomato bouillon gradually vanished from holiday traditions. With the rise of richer soups, canned conveniences, and more indulgent starters, this clear, delicate broth was largely forgotten. Yet recreating it today offers more than nostalgia. It connects us with an era when simplicity, care, and seasonal ingredients defined American cooking. Each spoonful evokes memories of wartime ingenuity, homegrown flavors, and the comforting routine of families gathering around the table despite external challenges. Rediscovering the Christmas tomato bouillon allows modern cooks to honor the past, to taste a piece of American history, and to appreciate the creativity, patience, and warmth that once made holiday meals both practical and unforgettable.